Okay. So the one I liked, the food function and justice. I think. Yeah, from famines to eating disorders. Since like I'm in that group, that's one thing that we talked about a lot. Was how it's weird that in countries where they literally don't have enough to eat, they can't help but what's happening to them. They would give anything to have, just the basic type of food to survive. And then here in America, we have this overabundance of food, and people are starving themselves. And it just seems kind of ridiculous, kind of scary that happens. And it's it's not like how do I say it? It's not like a rare, It happens quite often. And I mean, how do you address such things? And we were talking about how the media, how they kind of affect that most the most because of the way they portray women and
Unrealistic models and everything.
yeah. And you have to be so skinny or so tall or this color of hair or this type of hair or whatever just to fit into society's norms. And so
And then their view of reality becomes so distorted because in reality there are extremely few people who actually look like that.
right.
If any people at all, really.
And not only, I mean, what I was thinking about is not only is it unhealthy for, young girls or women who try to emulate such fashions, but also for the models themselves. I mean, you look at them and they're just skin and bones, and you have to wonder what that poor girl is going through, to look like that. I mean, she might be walking down the runway, but in her head, in her whole body, what's really going on there? And so, um, we talked about that for a while, um, and that was like the main focus of that one that we found really interesting. Um, and then the other one about poverty and children's hunger. Uh, those are a lot of statistics.
It was a lot of statistics.
Yes.
It was mainly statistics, actually.
It was kind of overwhelming, but I think it was just trying to emphasize how poverty, leads to hunger most of the time, and how in order to combat hunger, not only do we have to, I mean, help them like with relief, but you have to somehow get those families jobs and employment and something to work. So it's like
So not just addressing the hunger issue, but addressing the root of the hunger issue.
it's true. That's one thing that we were talking about, how hunger itself is tied into so many different things, economics, politics. It's such a like widespread sort of issue that it's really hard for us to like narrow it down. And we were talking about how like no one is against stopping hunger. Like it's non-debatable. No one is like, well, some people have to be hungry. There's no
Yeah.
real opponent to hunger, but at the same time, when it comes to making the policies, to help and relieve some of these people, that's when the politics and economics and the issues began, because no one can agree on how to best help the people. So, and we like from our research, we couldn't even find very many policies besides just like food stamps, and, the normal like give them food, um, because we were thinking more along the lines of addressing the roots of the problems, the education,
Preventative.
yeah, exactly. um, um, unemployment, even like discrimination and those sorts of things. Those are all like root problems that these people who are impoverished, that's what they're facing, and that's what's that's the obstacle keeping them from the most basic of human needs is, sustenance, food. And so it was really difficult to for us for this project to kind of narrow it and put it into some sort of shape when it's just so widespread. And and the thing that bothers me personally the most is we have so much food. This country is fertile and it's good for growing. We have such a high production rate. We could literally feed like so many people in like the globe. Not just here in
But
America.
people are stuck on how to distribute the food.
Right.
Where should this food go first?
And that's what I was reading. Like we did a history portion, and that was my portion of the group project. And because in my history class, I got really interested because we were talking about the Great Depression and how the farmers had grown too much crops, and so that was like one of the main reasons of the Great Depression, because there was so much that the price was going down, and like it was inflation. I don't know, all this stuff, right? All this economic stuff. But what amazed me was that farmers, like for instance, the corn farmers, they had all of this corn, and they just let it rot, and there were people starving. And I was like, well, I would have just had a big corn party. Everyone want free corn, just come on by, or I'd take
That
it
sounds like a good idea.
or take it like in a barrel and just like roll it down the town and like hand out ears of corn to people. I mean, I don't know, it just seems like there was some sort.
Then it's really a waste, like when there's actually a need for food.
Hmm. And they were doing the same thing with pigs. They had too many pigs, so what did they do? They took them out back and they killed them. It was a waste of corn.
So there's no economic gain, so.
Exactly. To me, that was just like the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I mean, I understand where people are like, well, how do you know who to give it to? How do you know, that sort of thing. But honestly, to me, I would have been like, anyone who wants it, like whoever's. I guess maybe it's just lack of organization, I mean, maybe it's easy for us to say now because we're like, oh, organized, blah, blah, blah. But to them, they're like farmers, they're like, I don't know what to do. And so the government told them what to do, or they just took whatever way they could find out of it. But to me, it's still, and it happens today. And like that's what we were saying, that you can't like mail your leftover pizza to Africa or Haiti or somewhere. So you can't do that. But I feel like there should be some sort of like way for us, maybe just to like cut down our own intake, and then instead of like I have a whole pizza for just the two of us, what if our portions were smaller, and then whatever, like the extra, the surplus, we could help send that out, I don't know, I feel like there's so many different ways. If you're just creative and organized, you could figure out some way to do it. But there's always the politicians.
Yeah, I mean, consumerism.
I don't want to share my pizza. I want it for myself. I worked for it, so why should I give it to them? It's just selfishness, and it's silly. I don't understand how some people can be like that. So, and we were talking about how desensitized we've become to the whole issue of hunger. I mean, just reading the statistics, I wasn't really surprised.
Yeah, I know.
They weren't like startling statistics to me. I mean, we see them every night on the TV, like 20
People
cents.
are used to seeing others hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Like they think that someone else will deal with it. or else they're like afraid to give something to help out some way because like I was on a river walk with a friend and there was a homeless man there, and I was wanting to give him something, but she was like, no, you don't know where he's from, you don't know what he'll do with your money. But I had my leftover dinner, so I gave it to him, and he was really appreciative. So just little things like that.
Yeah. I feel like that's another thing too. Like you become wary, you know, of giving them money because oh, well, he's just gonna go take it and buy a beer anyways. You know, like you're afraid of feeding an addiction that you're not aware of. But then
you can't really judge those people if you don't know where they're coming from.
Exactly. Maybe they really are. You know. I mean, would it help or would it not help? You know. I mean, for me, well, like in this day and age, it's difficult because we have debit cards and stuff. So like, even if someone's like, oh, I'm 50 cents short, you know, like, can I have 50 cents? If I had 50 cents, I would totally give it to them, but can you charge it? You know, I mean, do you have a sliding thingy that I can give you 50 cents from my bank account? Because it's all electronic now. So sometimes for me, that's kind of annoying. But I, 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 I usually, when I did have money on my own and I could do things like that, I tended to look for families. That's when I saw the little kid with her, or once this man came and it was around Christmas time, and he asked my father for some spare change because he was trying to get his family a meal for that day, and he pointed across and there was a woman and 3 kids standing on the other corner, and my dad gave him I think 10 or $20 to go get him and his family some food because I mean they were just, you know, it was all of them. I mean, they had nowhere else to go, they had no money, and they couldn't find a job. So, I mean, what are they supposed to do? What are those children supposed to do when they're born into that life? They can't help that. And so I understand some people, when they say that, well, he had opportunities just like all of us. Okay. First of all, sometimes people don't have the exact opportunities that you have, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes
exactly.
they don't, and so you don't know that. And second of all, what about the kids? The kids do not ask to be born into a family that's homeless. You know, I mean, a man and a woman make a kid, you know? They didn't ask to be conceived or to be born. They just were. And so that really bothers me when people are like, well, they deserve to be out there. Okay, maybe the adults didn't make some wise decisions at some point in their lives, but who are you to know? And look at those kids, you know? I mean, you can't blame the kids for their parents' mistakes.
Yeah, and like, it just bothers me when people are like, oh, they deserve what they've got. They deserve to be like suffering somehow, you know?
Yeah.
So, and like, if we are going to be doing something, it's just a small amount anyway, because people are like that. So,
it's not
gonna impact you that much, but it could help them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, like my dad told me once that when he was younger, he stopped at a gas station to get some gas or whatever, and there was a man there, you know, asking for money, and so my dad gave him $5, and my dad saw him walk down the street, and there was like a liquor store there, and then there was like a McDonald's and something else, and he saw him going towards that way, and my dad was like, dang it, you know, like I shouldn't have given him the $5, you know, because he thought he was going to the liquor store, and then the guy turned and went into McDonald's, and my dad was like, oh, good job, you know, and he's like, so that just you know, like he was judging that man, and he wasn't even, you know, you weren't 100% sure which way he was going, and he was already like, he was doubting his own, I guess like sincerity, or I mean not sincerity, like his own choice. He was doubting it, and then the guy proved him wrong, like right there in front.